Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Monday Coffee Conversation. I've got mine with me. I hope you've got yours. Let's get into it. As you can see, I've got a little special guest star with me this morning. He's not really happy, but this is RJ. His daddy's name was Rudy, so this is Rudy Jr. Sometimes when I'm in the right frame of mind, I call him RJ. We're out here in the chicken pen just feeding everybody this morning, and just wanted to share a little word with you. If you see the video before I start here, we got all kinds of birds. We've got all different colored chickens and all different breeds of chickens, and we've got ducks. And the ducks really stand out because they're so different. Let me let this little guy go. They're so different than the chickens, and they have a completely different attitude and how they act and things. But there's an old saying from way back in the 1700s that a poet actually came up with. It says, if it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck and it acts like a duck, I'm pretty sure that's a duck. So when I come out here in the mornings or the evenings or whenever and see all these birds, I can pretty much tell the difference between a duck and a chicken because of the way the duck walks, the way the duck talks, and the way the duck acts, and the way the duck looks. So that's not a hard thing for any of us to figure out. We all know the difference between ducks and chickens, and they have some similarities because they are all birds. They all have feathers. They'll eat pretty much the same thing. So while they're so different, there is some similarities in between a duck and a chicken, or a duck and a cardinal, or a duck and any other type of bird. But we know if it walks like a duck, looks like a duck, and sounds like a duck, that it's a duck. Just the way it is. I want to share a little scripture with you this morning, Romans 12:2. It says, be ye transformed by the renewing of your minds. That means our thought process changes. It's not just that the way we look changes or something, but our thought process, the renewing of our mind, is what transforms us. And a lot of times as Christians, we may not go the full route. We may walk like a Christian, and we may look like a Christian, but we don't sound like a Christian. Sometimes we may walk like a Christian, and we may sound like a Christian, but we don't necessarily look like a Christian. And the worst of all, sometimes we look like a Christian, sometimes we sound like a Christian, but we don't walk like a Christian. We don't act like a Christian. And unlike the difference between these ducks and these chickens, if a duck just starts walking different, maybe it starts walking like a chicken, I'm still going to know it's a duck. But when it comes to us as Christians, we can not only deceive others, but we can be deceived ourselves, because we can still walk like Jesus, or we can even talk like Jesus, but we still act like the world. Or we can sound like Jesus. We can even look like what we think Jesus would want us to look like, but we still walk like the world. And no matter how many people we might could trick and fool into who we really are, God's always going to know. And I'm not saying this to put anybody down, but I'm not trying to trick you or fool you, because what you think and what you say isn't going to affect what God does for me. The way I act, the way I do, and the way I think, and the way that I move, and the way that I treat other people, that's going to affect my relationship with God. So I'm not trying to fool anybody. I'm not trying to put on airs for anybody, because the only thing that matters is what God knows, and God knows all. So we shouldn't try to fool people. We all have faults. All Christians have faults. I think that's what a lot of times the world likes to throw at us. You know, we say, I believe in God and I'm a Christian. And they say, but you did this. Or the other day I heard you say this. Because they don't realize that it's a transformation. But we still live in this body. You see, when we transform our minds, we think like Christ. We do our best to act like Christ and to sound like Christ. But we're still here in this world and in these bodies that are not perfect, that have imperfections in the way not only we look, but in the way we act, in the way we talk to others. So we get that thrown at us a lot. And I'm not saying you have to be perfect in any way. There was only one perfect, and that was Jesus Christ himself. But what we have to do is we have to be honest with ourselves, with others, and you might as well be honest to God, because he already knows anyway about who we are. So if we're going to proclaim Jesus, then let's walk like Jesus, sound like Jesus, act like Jesus, and do as Jesus would do. See, I could come out here one morning and these ducks might decide to play a trick on me and put on chicken feathers. Probably not, because that'd be really weird. But if they did, I'd still know they were ducks. But we can put on disguise and walk around like Jesus but not act like it. Or we can act like we're a highfalutin Christian and we're perfect and we're just down on everybody else and just judging everybody else when we don't look at ourselves. So let's take that Romans 12:2 to heart. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your minds. Before we can walk like Jesus, before we can sound like Jesus, before we act like Jesus, we have to think like Jesus. We have to renew our mind, renew our hearts to have Jesus come out. Come out in our actions, come out in our speech, and come out in all the ways that define us. So we hope you enjoyed this message this morning. We hope it's been a blessing. We hope you enjoyed the time with RJ, Rudy Jr., and with all the other birds. And we'll see you next time on the Monday Coffee Conversation.